What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. I am your host, Reckless Rex Ruger, backed up as always by my guy, the Freddie Mercury puppet. Doesn't say much, but I don't need him to. We're back with another great episode of Pod Scum. You're taking a look at me and you're saying, I know that face. I know that luscious locks. I know those smoldering good looks. Well, that's because I'm Diamond Dave Lee Roth Jr. And the hard science will prove it very soon. But my guest is here, so enough about me. Let's get into it. And we got another banger of an episode like we always do. You know how we get down, folks. And this is the greatest guy in rock and roll right here. I don't give a shit what anybody says. Can you hear me okay?
You talking about me?
I'm talking about you, man, because seriously, for people that aren't a fan of this band, man, I want to start this episode, and I don't have the clapper thing, but this is our take two right here, man. Just lost about 30 minutes of a great conversation, and you're kind enough to do it again. This is probably why your fans really love you, man.
I think so, because I have
down to earth guy, man. And listen, man, I can't thank you enough how much, because you're one of my favorite bands. This means a lot to me, man, to have you actually, kind of rewind everything and answer the same dumb shit all over again.
we just had like 30 minutes of the best interview of my album cycle, and it's gone.
Yeah,
so
I know.
I was like, if Rex is up for doing it, I'm up.
I'm up. And if I lose the power again, I'm scheduling it again next week when these people finally have it figured out. Because for God's sake, man, just a little backstory. I live in upstate New York. We don't get the torrential hurricanes, tornadoes. The other day was what they called a tornado watch. But the symptoms were very much like a tornado. Trees were down. I work in healthcare as a nurse. I went to the nursing home. There was a tree that was taken down right at the base of it with lightning. Lots of flooding. I'm not really in a region where I suffer from a lot of that, but it's all going on right around me. And didn't have power for about a good day and a half. And it was still kind of sporadic. And then when we were just in the middle of talking, suddenly everything just went out. The whole room, my studio went dark. Everything just went down. So I thought we were out of the woods and had this figured out. I don't know if that was a surge or like a backlash of whatever's going on. I'm not privy to all that kind of stuff and the technical jargon of it all. But I don't know. Obviously, there was a glitch in the matrix somewhere. I don't know.
Man, it happens. Sometimes you got to do shit over and over to get it right. So. But
I'm happy to have you on, Chris Ojeda, man. And listen. I'm certainly not having a problem with getting back on here and gushing over Harbingers, because in my mind, up to this point in 2025, it's the album of the year in my mind. I'll go ahead.
High praise. That's high praise.
Yeah, high praise. So let me jump right in again, man. And I'll try to go out of order so it's not so mundane and boring like the last time. And I've got my topics to talk about here. So the creative process. Did you take the lead on that?
On this album, I did not take yes, I would say I did take the lead.
Wait a minute, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on a second there. Hold on. Just give me 1 second here.
Sure.
Are you able to hear me?
Yep.
Right, so you can hear me okay, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Something was glitching with my microphone here. That was the problem.
I
was having a hard time here. I was having a hard time hearing you.
Gotcha. Can you hear me?
Wait a minute. Hold on a second. All right, let's try that now. Can you hear me okay?
Oh yeah.
You can hear me okay? Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm just gonna go just with my webcam microphone. You can hear me okay though, right?
Fine.
Okay. So what was the creative process like, man? And I apologize for that little glitch. I'm just gonna unplug my microphone because my cats have been getting it to cord, so I just ordered another one from Best Buy. Yeah. The process, like, because in the past, I feel like you've probably taken the lead on much of it, right? Being the driving force of the band. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I would say, if you go back to our fifth album, which was 2 releases to resolve, I had to write that whole album myself. The whole album. Our drummer at that time, Matt Wolf, was not physically able to write because he was in the throes of drug addiction. He still performed on the album, and he was a prolific songwriter, but that album he was checked out.
Yeah.
And then Brian Henderson, who's been in the band for 12 years now, that was his first album, and he wasn't comfortable writing. So I wrote that whole album myself. The last album, Cicada Tree, Brian took a little bit more off of my plate. And with this album, I was able to get the creative juices going, but I had Ryan and Brian along with me to write. So I think I took the lead maybe 50-60%, and the other guys rammed it home for me, which was great.
I mean, but do you like that though, man? You know, how do you feel as an artist? Because I know there are guys in bands who are such a creative force, and they like to be like domineering. Like we heard old stories back in the day about Hetfield and Lars just writing everything and telling the other guys what to play. Or nice when that's taken off your plate to a certain extent.
I love it when it's taken off my plate because you know, I formed this to be a band, not a solo project. And there has been times in our discography where I've had to lead more than follow, and I'm fine doing that. But I feel like we get greater output creatively when there's more guys involved in the writing process. And this album, I think it really impacted what we came out with, having 3 songwriters again in the band. What else? The other thing that really helped Rexx was having a producer for the first time. We've never had a producer. I've always produced the Byzantine albums. So being able to have Peter Wichers from Soilwork come in was a giant step in the right direction.
And I don't want to gloss over it, man, because we talked about it in the stuff that we had to scrap, unfortunately, because of my little power outage here, man. But you did the engineering on this album, which was a first for you, correct? And now you talked about a little bit about kind of taking a for lack of a better word, a crash course and getting up to speed on how to do all this stuff. Well, so what was that role like?
Yeah, that was difficult. And I'm understating that. Normally it takes 4 months for us to record a Byzantine album. You know, this one took 15 months because I decided to try my hand at engineering and tracking the album myself because I own a recording studio now. That's one of the things that took up some of my time between Cicada Tree and this album was building a recording studio and a rehearsal facility. So I wanted to take that on. I did not want to mix the album. I have zero experience mixing it. We hired a big name mixing engineer. It didn't work out. And then all of a sudden we were left with no money to hire another great engineer. So I decided to try to teach myself how to mix while I was mixing this album. That was extremely difficult, but it gave me a new lease on music. It gave me another passion that I didn't know lay within me. Mixing and working in the studio. I've always been a studio rat, but I've never been the guy pushing the knobs. And now I think from here on out, I'm always going to be the guy mixing and tracking the albums. But bringing Peter in gave us a renewed sense of focus. That I think, you know, we tend to write long Opethian style songs that go everywhere, and having Peter there to be like, pull these reins back. Let's make this a little more soil worky, a little more condensed. And man, I think it took our power and focused it, laser focused this time.
And now I mentioned earlier how it's been amazing feedback. We talked a little bit about like the devotion of your fans, so what were the well, first of all, did you think the fans had expectations after a 7-8 year layoff? What do you think the fans were expecting, and what do you feel like you've delivered?
Well, first and foremost, I think most of our fans expected us to break up. Once 5 or 6 years started passing, they were all kind of sweating it. But we have been working on this album since 2022. We just couldn't release any information on it. But our fans, they like our hardcore OG fans, they always expect us to give them something that is deep and layered. kind of like a really good cake. They want it layered but not dense.
Right.
And
right.
If we gave them something that wasn't multifaceted, I think they would overthrow. There would be a coup going on. So we tried to give them exactly what we've been giving them from the first album, is something that is not very easy to digest. We've always been a blender band. We've always mixed 5-10 different genres, probably much to our chagrin why we haven't blown up, because you and I both know that heavy metal is a lot of it is one trick pony.
Yeah.
And the fans love that, but we cater to ourselves,
right,
or a small fan base. So the expectations that they had of us was for us to give them something that took a long time to listen to and digest, and that's what I think we delivered to them.
And obviously, there's always like genres, subgenres, labels. The metal world, rock in general, it seems to love that. But the metal world, there's all these different labels. I've been seeing a lot, and I told you just before, progressive thrash. Do you feel like that's a fair assessment to slap on what you guys do, particularly like this album? I feel like progressive, like when I always think of when someone says something's progressive, I always feel like it just means like a band is really showing off their chops, so to speak. I mean, you're really seeing them, firing on all cylinders and really showing the instrumentation and how prolific they are.
Yeah, I've always accepted the prog moniker. I know we're not Dream Theater, we're not Spock's Beard, or we're not Rush,
right?
Doing all that stuff, but I've always thought we have tried to show off not so much our physical chops, but more our songwriting chops.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we do lay in the progressive realm. Progressive thrash, I don't really think that label fits us, because we're not really a thrash band anymore. We started out more thrashy, but mainly just because we were young and pissed off, and we could play faster. I think progressive groove metal is where we kind of lie.
Okay.
We're more of a mid-tempo head nod band. I always, as a songwriter, focus on the groove first. We Pantera and Meshuggah and Testament were big reasons of how we started our band. So I think progressive groove metal fits Byzantine as well as any other genre could. But
and now, obviously, when you age in a genre like this, and you guys have been doing this like for a long time, and you mentioned that you're 50 years old. I'm 52 years old. Catch people up to speed a little bit on where you are in terms of like how you feel. Like you sound incredible on this album. How have you maintained your voice, which is also an instrument in the band, and your own health? Playing a particularly pummeling, brutal style of music that is not often forgiving on the body.
Yeah, physically, when we started this band, we were in our late 20s. So normally you're in really good shape. I was actually in poor health when we started this band. I was underweight. I had a thyroid condition that was undiagnosed for years that we were touring with. You could go back and look at some pictures of me around the Serpents area, and I look like a skeleton with a giant head on me. I was eating like shit, smoking, and a lot of times it would catch up on us when we would go out and tour, and I'd lose my voice. Now I put all that stuff aside. I exercise regularly. I don't smoke anymore. And the human voice doesn't really mature until you get in your 40s and 50s. Right. So now I feel like I can sing better. I got better breath control. I'm singing from my diaphragm instead of my throat. So I feel like if we do land some tours this year or some festivals, we could really go out and give our accurate representation of what Byzantine is supposed to sound like.
Now, 9 songs, 42 minutes. With people being so picky nowadays, people that review these albums, the general music consuming population in general, a lot of times when I'm reading reviews, that's the knock, man. That sometimes people stayed too long at the party and made an album that is too long. You know, was this a discussion that came up amongst the band, and how did you arrive at 9 songs, 42 minutes?
Yeah, it was discussed very early on about the length of what we were going to put out. We knew 8 years removed that our fans would want like a double album. They want as long as we could give them.
Right.
But I would always rather our fans hit repeat than skip. So we made a conscientious effort to make like an old school 80s, 90s, early 90s album where there's like 8 songs, 9 songs, you know, focus on like what would fit on a vinyl, not, you know, on a CD.
Right.
So, and that gives us some parameters to work in and allow us to like arrange this album in such a fashion that when it gets to the end, they're ready to hit repeat.
Sure. Yeah.
We had more demos. We had other songs that we think that could have made it, but it's best riff wins in Byzantine. And we felt once we arranged this album with these songs in this order, that's it. This is the album. It flows great. Let's send it.
Now you're a family man. You've got children or whatever. I don't know what's your family situation like when you started this band or whatever. But has it affected the way you write songs and your approach to the material? You know what I mean? Like, you know, do you feel like you're more introspective at this point in your life?
Yeah. When we started this band, I didn't have any children. Nobody in the band had children, and now I've got three beautiful kids: a 17-year-old, a 5, and an 8. So writing music early on, especially lyrically, I was writing everything a little bit more, you know, direct, a little on the nose. I always focused heavily on the depth and breadth of the lyrics, because I was always a fan of bands like Meshuggah and Carcass and Dark Angel, who wrote really prolific lyrics.
Yeah.
But I think now introspective is a good term. Now I write things a little bit more heady. You have to dig a little deeper to find the actual meaning. And a lot of that comes from just being older, being around children, you know, finding beauty in things that I would have never even thought as a 20-year-old punk.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a parent. I have 3 grown children, but now I'm in grandfather territory right now. So that certainly changes. You know, it does. It changes your outlook on things. You know.
Yeah. You know, most of our fans, they don't give us any guff about what we write. They're like, okay, this is fresh. This is new Byzantine. I'm going to digest it. Every once in a while, we'll get somebody who says, man, I wish you'd go back and write this. I wish you'd write like Serpents. But what they don't understand is I was 27 working at a pizza shop when I was writing that stuff.
Right.
And my worldview was completely different than it is when you're 50s, you know, and so I could never go back and write those songs again.
Right.
But conversely, 27-year-old OJ could never in a million years write what was on this album.
Right.
So, you know, they get what they get, and most of them really enjoy it.
And what do your own kids think of your music?
They think I'm lame.
Yeah.
I include all, as you can see, I got pictures of them back here. I got 2 girls and a boy. I include them all. My 17-year-old's got a beautiful voice, and she's been on 2 different albums, doing vocal parts. They've been in music videos. I try to include them, make it a family thing.
Sure.
We did a video called Purity for a 2022 EP that we did. And in the music video, I murdered both of my kids, and they loved it. Like, they were like, oh yeah, man, we get to be ghosts. But overall, you know, they don't really pay much attention to it. Like my 17-year-old's starting to pick up more and more, because kids in her high school, she'll see them wearing Byzantine shirts, or they'll have us on their Spotify, and she'll be like, oh, maybe my dad is kind of rad.
Yeah. And so touring now, we talked earlier, obviously I talk to musicians on here all the time. It's not cheap to go out and tour. It's not easy to go out and tour nowadays. But I'm sure fans would love to know, now that this album is out, it just came out June 13th. What's the itinerary look like for you guys out there performing live?
Live, we've always been a studio band, and
Yeah.
it's not because we wanted to, it's just how it worked out. But we really want to take this to the fans. I think the opportunity is there for us now. You know how everything's a cyclical, everything 20 years ago is now cool again.
Yep.
New wave of American heavy metal movement in the 2000s is now cool again.
Yep.
So, and we were a part of that. So we're going to try to capitalize on it. We've got a tour. We've almost locked it down. And if we do, it's going to be hella cool. And that should catapult us into landing all these festivals. That's our goal, is to hit festivals, play really good tours or one-off shows, open it up for bigger bands. The days of getting in a van and playing a pub, 4,000 miles away and for 4 weeks straight, those are over for us.
Yeah. I mean, what's the itinerary like, though? Like, when you go out, like, what is a comfortable number? Because I get guys on here all the time that say, after about 3 or 4 weeks nowadays, I'm ready to pack it in. I think people get used to their creature comforts. You only want to be gone for so long or whatever. But what's a workable, decent number, man, at this stage in your career?
We're looking at 2-week clips. If we could do a 2-week, that would, in 2 weeks, our businesses back home wouldn't fail.
Right.
We wouldn't be gone too long to let them fail. It would take us probably 3 or 4 shows to get our show legs under us to where we would be like firing like surgical.
Yeah.
So most of those shows would be awesome. And the touring industry in general now is kind of focusing more on shorter tours.
Yes.
Doing a 2-week leg here, taking a break, doing a 2-week leg there. Because just of the cost alone in travel. So, but yeah, man, 2 weeks, if we could go out, we could hit most of the US in 2 weeks, and that would be great.
Where do you think you are in terms of in terms of this current lineup right now? I know we laughed about it on the last time we talked about, everyone always says, oh, this is the best lineup we've ever had right now. But it is easy nowadays in the music business to get disheartened and say, I'm not really seeing much for the fruits of my labor here. You do see a lot of revolving door lineup changes, people just dropping off completely in today's music industry and just saying, I'm going to go a different route. Where do you feel like, is this lineup really, really locked in? Everybody rowing in the same direction?
I think so. As older men, adults, we talk things out a little more, which is great. So we all know that we're pretty much in it for the same reasons now. Like we had discussed before, everybody says, this is the best lineup. We're going to be together forever. You never know that. You know what I mean? This is like a marriage of 5 people. Yeah. And a normal marriage is hard enough to maintain, but being married to 4 other dudes is rough. But I really feel, and we've had some great talent in this band, but I really feel this lineup is the all-star lineup of this band. Bringing Ryan into the band, which he's been in the band for 6 years, but this is the first album he wrote on, was a huge get. And then bringing Tony back into the band and not losing Hendo, who replaced Tony, was just a work of magic. To be able to, not a lot of bands get to replace a guitar player and then bring him back and keep them both. Right. It's like an Iron Maiden thing.
Yeah. Now, how did it affect you? How did it affect the band? How did it affect the songwriting when you lost a member? You lost Matt in 2021. What was that experience like? Obviously, that's happened in countless bands where you lose a member. But I'm sure it impacts people, on some level. I mean, certainly personally, how did it affect you, the band?
Well, with Matt, losing Matt, we first lost Matt from the band. You know,
Yeah.
he was still alive at that
Yep.
point. I had to let him go because of the drug issues.
Yep.
And honestly, if I look back at it, Rexx, it's probably one of the worst decisions I ever made was to fire him from the band. I should have been there more for him and tried to help him to get rehab. But it played out how it played out. And I have nightmares about that because Matt was my best friend.
Yeah.
But Matt was such a songwriter. Like when we recorded Serpents, our second album, we did that as a 3-piece. It was me, Matt Wolf, and Tony Rohrbaugh. All three of us wrote. So it was split up. And Matt was an integral force in making the unique Byzantine sound. So when we lost Matt as a songwriter to the drugs, it was a tough thing for me to figure out because I couldn't write like Matt.
Right.
And here I was trying to fill his shoes. And then later, like a couple years later after that, he passed away from the drug abuse. So that was awful. Losing Tony was also awful because he was on the first 4 albums, but luckily we have him back now.
Yeah.
It might take him a little bit. Here's my son.
Hey, everybody.
Yeah. Yep. What do you need?
Cameo.
Ball spot is bleeding.
Oh, okay. I'll fix it. Okay. I'll be back here in a second. Our cat's got in a fight with something this weekend. So one of them's got a big old chunk out of his face. He wants me to go help him.
Yeah.
But yeah, losing integral songwriters is difficult, but somehow we've been able to manage it and bridge the gap and keep the songwriting consistent enough to where our fans never feel like there has been a stopgap in the creative process. So was there a certain amount of trepidation
because Cicada Tree came out in 2017 and now here we are in 2025 putting out this album that I obviously we talked about your fans being invested in the band, you know, in the fans still being there, but just from the industry, from critics, from people from the metal world in general?
Yeah, the most trepidation came internally, you know, like we were worried that everybody just forgot about us because you know, like even 3 years silence in the rock and metal industry, and you can be forgotten about.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because there's so much content out there. Yeah. So 8 years feels like most bands don't even last 8 years, and we were going 8 years between albums.
Although let's also say that is probably the general between Metallica albums.
It is. Yeah.
A lot of bands.
Yeah. So yeah, we were worried about them just forgetting about us or not covering us. Like we put an album out and we get 2 or 3 reviews and that's it. Luckily it's been the opposite. We've been getting slammed with reviews, and now it's starting to be a perpetual review machine. Now other people will be like, oh, I need to review this band because, you know, this people reviewed it. The other thing I was worried about was just the sound, you know, like we had discussed before, where I'd never recorded and mixed anything. And then all of a sudden my first outing has to be a major label release. Like I can't get to practice on a demo or anything.
Right. I know. I mean, that's baptism by fire right there.
Baptism by fire. Like my gut was in my throat for months when I was sending it to the mastering house and putting it out. I was like, all right, here it is. You know,
and I got to say, on the job training with an endeavor like that has got to be nerve wracking because it is your first kind of foray back into the music world from such a long hiatus, man, that you really probably wanted it to be like, holy shit, we got to come in guns a-blazing here and really blow the doors off, man. I mean, people haven't heard us in a while.
Yeah, it's the record label told us. They were like, you have to hire a big name mixing engineer. You can't just keep working with small guys. Let's put some names to it. That didn't work out. We tried it. We had to let him go. Then we end up with not much money left. And then all of a sudden I'm mixing it myself, a newbie. But man, did it turn out for the best. Like I learned a whole new skill. Now I know that when I'm not doing Byzantine stuff, I want to be in the studio recording and mixing other bands. some things work out for a reason. I just wish I wouldn't have been put on this, put myself in the fire like that. But I was hoping I could just focus on recording it and writing it, not tracking it and mixing it.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you're back against the wall, you got to do some shit. And I had to do some
you rise to the occasion like this, though, and maybe possibly put out your best work, though, you know?
Maybe so. I mean, the reviews are coming back saying sonically it sounds organic and punchy and got energy. And those are all the things I've really focused on for months.
Well, we said earlier, though, man, that and I agree with you, you know, especially a couple of years ago, as I said, you know, going to see the Bay Area Strikes Back. Like, you see the older bands in metal, they are still not only just carrying the torch, but they're still bringing it very strong. The Death Angels, the Exoduses, the Testaments, you know, the Overkills. You know, I mean, bands that have been doing it 30 plus years.
Yeah, Meshuggah, just, I mean, the name could go on and on. Metal is an old man's game.
Yeah.
It like I told you earlier, if you don't have a dude that doesn't have gray hair in your band, you don't have street cred hardly.
Yeah.
So there for a long time we felt like we were too old and you know, it had passed us by our chances. But now we're like, let's do it. You know, it doesn't matter. I mean, we can still get down in the power rock stance.
Yeah.
You know, we can still triplet, and my vocals feel as strong as ever. So I feel like we're ready and positioned to, you know, make our fans proud. Like, we don't expect this to change our life.
Right.
We don't expect to quit our jobs and do that. That's not what we want. But what we want is we just feel like we need the industry to just give us a chance and let us play some of these big shows and, you know, start turning. 90% of the heavy metal community knows who we are, but never listen to us.
Right.
We need the chance to let them hear us.
Why do you think that is, man? Like, what's your theory behind it, man? Like, why hasn't this band, who's writing great songs, who sound absolutely amazing, who are really pushing the boundaries as far as like their genre, and as you said, really sounding fresh, really accomplished musicians, you know, why do you think, you know, you haven't reached the status that you wanted? Can you put a finger on it?
There's a couple factors. One, we broke up in 2007, the day after we put out our third album.
Yeah.
We thought that was going to be a big FU to the record label, and we were going to look cool and come out of it and get picked up. We were broke up for 5 years, and it set us back 10 years because we had street heat at that time. All the bands we were playing with at that time were blowing up, and here we decided to take a U-turn, and we've been swimming upstream ever since then, trying to play catch up.
Right.
That's been one factor. The second factor is the style of music that we like to write and put out. It's not for everyone. It is a blend of many, many different genres. And I think that there's a reason why all the industry people really love us.
Yeah.
The bands who are above us love our music. We have so many fans in bigger bands, but the actual heavy metal listener, the average listener, they either have passed our name over because it doesn't really like have a connotation, you know?
Yeah.
It's like Cannibal Corpse. If you're a death metal fan, you see Cannibal Corpse, you're like, I'm gonna buy that because I know what that means. I know what that is.
Right.
You see Byzantine, it's like you almost have to do the work and go listen to us to figure out what we even sound like.
Right. Right.
So I think that is kind of maybe been a detriment to us because we don't our name don't jump out at anybody. And the other thing is, I think the average heavy metal listener really likes the AC/DC method. They like their album palatable, easy to digest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right up, smack you right in the face for 9 songs, and then
you guys are confusing.
We don't do that.
You guys are confusing the listeners.
We're confusing. Even reviewers who have been reviewing album, who have reviewed us for years, they still come out and go like, I got to digest this, all the different amount of vocals. I think that's one thing that trips them up. They're like, there's 5 different styles of vocals on here.
Right.
I don't know what to think about that.
Right.
You know? And I personally, I'm like, they're not all me. Like,
Right.
I let our guitar player Brian Henderson sings. Now our bass player Ryan sings. Like, we like Mastodon. We love how they have 3 different vocalists.
Yeah.
We're kind of like Mastodon, except I also sound like 3 different vocalists.
Right. Right.
So,
Right.
I think all those combined has really kind of stymied our progress.
Yeah. And so, you know, I know this album has just come out, but you know, as I said earlier, I'm sure you don't want to take another 7 or 8 years for the next one. When do you start to amass like stuff and start to think about the follow-up project? Like I know we talked about, you know, there's an album cycle. You want this one to be out there, marinate for a while, man, have legs, you know, maybe able to go out and do the festivals and stuff next year, you know, if all goes according to plan. But when do you think about like a follow-up album?
Yeah, you're right. Like, we've got to give this album its time in the sun.
Yeah.
We've got to give it at least a year or 2 to see if we can, you know, exponentially grow our fans without giving them more music. But internally, we have discussed, we're like, we cannot let this happen again. We can't go 8 years. We have to turn around and start writing music within the next year or so. So we're hoping 3 years from this release that we have another release ready for the fans, whether it be a 5 or 6 song EP or another full-length album. But we're going to try to cut that 8-year gap down at least by half or even more so on this next one.
And with Harbingers, is there a theme? Is there a concept there that might not be like obvious to the listener? You know, is there anything done deliberately or intentionally on there that maybe people haven't picked up on yet? That maybe you were aware of when you were writing it?
Oh yeah, there's Easter eggs all through this thing, lyrically, conceptually, and in the music. But now, you know, on the top of it, we wanted a name that symbolized the album cover. We wanted to focus. We've always played around with the Byzantine history. Like, we wrote a song called Justinian Code, which was about Emperor Justinian. We've had Emperor Constantine on our album covers. We thought it would be rad to focus on the only female ruler of the Byzantine Empire. So that's why we was like, let's make that change. And then Harbinger, by definition, means one who ushers in great change.
Right.
And Irene of Athens is a giant harbinger in that facet. So we was like, oh, Harbinger, that's a good album title. But then we thought it tied into the band symbolically because we've went through so much change in the last 8 years, just maturity wise, adding Ryan, our bass player, adding Tony. So there's a really good tie-in there with that thematically. As far as the songs are concerned, it's not a concept album. One song's about, you know, digging up your loved ones and dancing with them, and another song's about aliens. And so I wrote just whatever the heck I thought was cool.
And so you did say, though, that you feel like you resonated with the fans, man, because you guys really truly are an underdog story, man. In our last conversation, you even equated yourself as to being the extreme metal version of Anvil.
Yeah, I've said that a few times. I think we're the West Virginia Anvil because, you know, people have seen us for years, like, get breaks. Oh, they're on tour. They're going to Canada. Yeah. And then we go to Canada with Sacred Reich, and then all of a sudden we lose our van in Canada. It never came back home with us.
If it can go wrong, it's going to go wrong.
Yeah, and it goes, like our guitar player said, we're the Bermuda Triangle of issues. But I think that also is what gravitates fans to us so wholeheartedly, is that they see themselves in us. We're not any different. You know, we all have our day jobs. People see me slinging tile online, and I think our fans can really gravitate towards that, and they love the underdog thing. You know, they want to see us succeed and try to maybe break through. And I think that really gives us a special connection with our fans. That might be why our fan base is so small but fervent.
Yeah.
You know? I think if it grew to a larger size, a lot of newer fans wouldn't be able to connect with us, you know, on that level.
Right.
But I'd love to give them a try. You know,
right.
It'd be nice.
At the same time, you're also kind of alluding to the fact that you'd love to grow the Byzantine product a little bit more, though, man. So, like, you know, in this day and age, in today's music industry, how do you do that? Obviously, doing things like this, obviously being out there and having a presence on the socials is kind of big, man. But, like, what do you do nowadays, man? I mean, you know, especially after coming off a hiatus like this, how do you get Byzantine back out there and in people's faces?
Well, I think one thing that we were woefully awful at for our whole career has been social media.
Yeah.
So we've made a conscientious effort to really focus on that and to ramp it up. We're posting now more than ever. Unfortunately, that falls on my shoulders a lot because most of the fans want to see me. They want me to communicate with them. So I have to spend an hour or two every day now going through our posts, recording video, editing things. It's awful.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, you're right.
It can be, you know, but it's necessary in this day and age. You know, there's no more telephone poles to hang my poster on.
Right.
Like, I have to promote it here.
Right. And there's not really magazines or fanzines or stuff like that anymore either.
No, I mean, so Facebook, I'm on it all the time. YouTube, we have a Patreon account that I am interacting with all the time. Instagram, we've tried to do TikTok, but I freaking hate that.
Me too.
Brian Slagle at Metal Blade had a conversation with me, and he's like, "OJ, you got to embrace it. You got to embrace TikTok. Trivium's killing it." And I've tried, but I'm like, man, I could give a rat's ass about TikTok.
Yeah. And TikTok TikTok seems like it's one of those apps that's kind of playing into this whole like dumbed down attention span of people. You know what I mean? Like they're just divulging things in little 30 or 60-second increments, you know? I mean, it's a good promotional tool or whatever, man, but it really isn't. It's not really going to get people into the meat and the potatoes of what Byzantine is.
No, I mean, the TikTok generation too. I mean, they look at us and we were in our 50s, and our music is not easily digestible in 30-second clips.
Right.
We're just not a good format for that. So I'm fine with that. But social media, we've been focusing hard on. The other thing that I think that can grow us is just we've finally added a manager. We've never had a manager our whole career. So I think growing our team is going to help in the long run. So we got a manager now. We've got a booking agent. You know, we're still on a great label. Metal Blade is probably, in my eyes, the best heavy metal label on earth right now.
Absolutely.
The lineup, the roster is stacked on Metal Blade.
Yeah.
So other than that, there's nothing else we can do. I mean, we've written the music that I think that our fans and the metal community need to hear.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else we can do on that end. So we're just going to keep hammering it with that, hammering the socials, and see if it works.
Do you like playing double duty in your band, like where you're a guy who plays guitar and does vocals? Where a lot of guys in extreme metal bands, you know, concentrate on just the vocals. You know, they're putting so much into that, and there's such a physicality to it or whatever. Do you like doing both?
Yeah, I do. I'm a rhythm guitar player at heart. I sang in this band just out of, you know, because we needed somebody to sing.
Yeah.
But I love wearing multiple hats.
Right.
I like keeping busy, and playing guitar and singing, it falls into my personality. Now, right now, I'm playing guitar a lot less live, but I'm still going to be tracking all the guitars on future Byzantine albums. So that's going to keep me busy. So I'm happy that I still get to wear all these hats.
And now, do you feel like because now you've undertaken, this ability to do the engineering stuff, do you feel like going forward, man, that this will be like what you'll do with future Byzantine albums? And are you interested in doing it on other bands' albums?
I am. I've actually, I've already recorded, since we've released the Byzantine album, I've already recorded one full length for a heavy metal band from New Hampshire. And now I'm working on a Americana singer-songwriter album.
Okay.
So I have actively taken this on as another career for myself. And that's the goal. I would love to have my own studio in my backyard, probably.
Yeah.
And a Byzantine rehearsal space to where I could take my coffee out there and work on albums, work on new Byzantine stuff. The guys that I look up to the most are like Stephen Wilson from Porcupine Tree, Devin Townsend, guys who they have creative control from the front to the back. Not like a dictator, but
right.
Just holding the reins together.
Right.
And that's where I see myself for the next 10, 15 years.
So have you given thought to when, and I think I might have asked you this in our previous conversation, have you given thought to, a stop date in terms of like, making your own music and getting up on stage? I think there was a quote like years ago from one of the guys in the Rolling Stones, like saying that they didn't want to still be getting up on stage at 70 years old and singing Satisfaction. Although they far have gone past their 70s and are still continuing to do that very thing that they said they didn't want to do. But have you thought about like, geez, I don't want to still be climbing up on stage. I don't want to still be doing extreme metal, or I want to stop after X amount of albums or at a certain determined age.
Yeah, we've had those discussions internally. My problem is that we broke up from 2007 to 2013, and I realized during that time I am a horrible quitter.
Yeah,
it did not sit well with me, and so giving up on this band anytime soon to me would seem like a disservice to everything we've done.
Right.
Our points that we've talked about as a band is if we no longer enjoy hanging out and playing music together, then we stop.
Right.
As a group. Or if we don't produce top shelf heavy metal anymore, and we will know,
right,
then we stop. But at this point, we still think we've got a ton of gas left in our tank. So, and the reviews and the fans are, they're backing us up on that. So, no, I don't think we have an end date in sight right now. We did when we were younger, which is weird. When we were in our 30s, we were like, we can't do this in our 40s because we'll look lame and old. But the old thing is now out the window.
Well, and just like you said earlier too, man, old is what's still kicking ass in the metal world right now.
Yeah, man. Like John, my buddy John in Lamb of God looks like Gandalf. You know what I mean? And it's awesome. Yeah,
it is awesome. It is awesome. So, and then you listen to the lyrics and you think, God, man, like these guys have earned those gray hairs. They probably know a thing or two.
There's a certain thing about street cred. I would rather have street cred than fame or success any day. Because street cred comes from the top and not the bottom, and the fame and all that stuff that comes from the bottom and works its way up. But if you have some real street cred about you, you've stuck this out 20, 25 years, and you've not strayed and chased genre chasing after genre chasing, then you've got guys in bands bigger than you respecting you,
right?
And you don't get that in 3 to 5 years. You literally got to live in this for a long time to get street cred. And I wear that badge with honor. I'd rather have that and never find any money. Yeah.
Now I know Harbingers is the album right now that's current. I mean, that's the most relevant that you're pushing right now, or whatever. But do you feel like it's a fair representation of the best work of Byzantine? Like, would you point at this album and say, here we are at our best, firing on all cylinders, or is this album at least close to what that would be?
I think it's close. They're all my babies.
Right.
I think I'm an audiophile, so the only one I really am not a fan of is our first album, The Fundamental Component, just from a sonic standpoint.
Right.
Even though that song has probably the most bangers, songs that the songs that we play live. I think my cat's walking up on.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
Yep. When we finished this album and got it back from the mastering house, I thought this is a decent album.
Yeah.
I never thought this is the best thing we did on our life. Now that didn't start feeding into my head until reviews started coming back.
Right.
And I was like, oh, maybe this is killer. But I thought it was on par with what we've been putting out for 20 years.
And now, what's the ingredients for a Byzantine song? What typically comes first for you? Title, opening line, riff?
Normally it's the riffs. We always demo best riff wins type thing. Once we get a song that we feel like is ready to put things to it, then I assemble lyrics. But I always keep a notes or a pages on my iPhone with just random musings and poetry. And I will grab things from all of it and formulate a song and then be like, oh, okay, this song's about aliens. Now let's find a cool song title. And that's how it goes. Riffs first, lyrics, and then a song title last.
And are you somebody who, we talked about this album is getting lots of reviews. It is being talked about a lot. How much of that do you take to heart? Are you somebody that'll go online and see, let me see what they're saying about the new album. Let me see what they're saying about it.
I do. It doesn't affect me nearly as much as it did when I was in my 20s and 30s. I would read. I'd read stuff on Metal Sludge or Blabbermouth or the Lamb of God forum, and I would be down the dumps for a week.
Yeah,
because people didn't because I couldn't sing or whatever.
Yeah.
Now I read them, but if somebody doesn't like the music or doesn't like how I sing, I'm just like, hey, that's fine. We didn't write this for you anyway.
You take it with a grain of salt. Yeah.
Yeah. We wrote this stuff for us.
Right.
Yeah, but I stay up on all that stuff. I'll normally go a couple of days without doing it, and then I'll get a cup of coffee and just type in Google Byzantine reviews and then have to translate them from Dutch or German to read them. Yeah.
Now, what are your own we talked about the band's creative process, but what's yours like individually? When you're at home and you're going to say, okay, I want to write some songs today. Do you treat it like a job? Like you go into a room and say, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to create, or does the creativity just come sporadically throughout the course of the day? You might jot something down or sing something to your phone.
I'm always kind of jotting things down, but never thinking, okay, I'm going to go to the house and demo this out right now. I don't write music at all between albums. So if we go, let's say we went 8 years, Rexx, on this one, 7.5 years of that, I don't write shit. I don't write it, which is counterintuitive to what most guys do. They'll demo and write all the time and then compile.
Yeah.
The best way that I work, and I've figured this out early, is I will turn the faucet off and let it build up for years.
Yeah.
And then when I open it up, it's 4 months before we have to go in the studio. I'll sit down and start demoing. Just like any faucet that's been turned off for a while.
Yeah.
The first shit that comes out is awful.
Yeah. You gotta
I'll let that go. I'll purge it.
Clear the pipes. Clear the pipes a little.
Clear the pipes, and then it always, like clockwork, it comes out cohesive, energetic, and I will normally write a full album with 2.5 to 3 months.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, okay, it's done. So yeah, I don't write all the time. I write right before the album.
Did you feel like because of the hiatus with this album, did you feel because of the time that had elapsed between albums, obviously you're going through a lot of emotions, nervous about how it's going to be received or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But did you feel pressure?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Intense pressure internally.
Yeah.
Internally. I don't wear it on my sleeve and let people know, but I therefore, and the reason being is because where I don't write for years, I'll think in my head, what's this next batch going to sound like? Cause I have no idea, cause I haven't wrote anything.
Right.
But I know to give myself at least a month or two of flushing the pipes,
Yeah.
before I start worrying too much.
Yeah.
And normally what I write now, it comes out a little too proggy. Like I'm the proggy guy in the band.
Yeah.
And then the other guys will be like, no, kick that out. Okay. Now that's groovy.
I feel like progressive is just basically just saying that a band actually is proficient at their instruments. I don't even know what proggy even means. I guess it just means like, okay, man, like these guys can actually show off and can actually like do something more than just like, power chords and That's
it. It'll be like my riff don't have enough bar chords.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I feel like I feel like if you're getting hit with the progressive label, man, that pretty much is the industry's way of telling you, man, hey, man, you guys have mastered your instruments.
I definitely do not take it as a slight. You know what I mean?
Not.
I thought when Opeth Blackwater Park hit that they got labeled with prog, and I'm like, I will jump in that boat any day.
Yeah.
King Crimson, put us with any of those bands. Catatonia.
Yeah.
These are my favorite bands. So
are you still are you still at this stage of your life, being a parent, being a business owner, having done this a long time, man, sometimes maybe people get jaded or whatever, are you still enjoying the process of making music? The industry has changed so much. The physical product is not as prevalent as it used to be. People are streaming. It's a track by track world nowadays. Are you still enjoying it?
Immensely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I hope that come across. It probably comes across in the music. Like, yeah, I still enjoy it. I've never really enjoyed playing live. I've never been a live guy. So sometimes I have to force myself to enjoy that. I don't enjoy having to do all the other rigmarole, which is like the social media content. I love doing interviews. I love doing podcasts, and I love writing the music. There's enough still in this job to keep me like super happy, pretty much.
And I know in our last conversation, we talked a little bit about, and I don't think you had all the details worked out. And so I don't want you to divulge anything that you're not sure of. But you did feel like you have something cooking, though, for a potential tour coming up that you were trying to work out.
I feel we're super close, like maybe 1 or 2 more emails or text messages from landing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've been, it's a big tour in the fall, and I have connections to the people who are all around that tour. And normally I don't bother them. I never do. But this time I was like, damn it, I can't let this pass us. So I've been punching my favor cards.
Yeah. Well, I hope it works out, man. I hope it works out, man. Because not only are you guys like great guys and a great band, man, but I really hope that this, these songs are actually, get the opportunity to be out there and be played for people, man. Because they're being received well so far. Just listening to the album, man. But I can only imagine that them being played to a live audience.
Yeah, there's enough Sledgehammer stuff on this new album that I think it will translate well. Mix right in with some of our old stuff. We normally play live most of the stuff from the first 3 prosthetic era albums.
Yeah.
But I think we've got enough bangers on this song that it'll be killer live. When I wrote some of this music, I tried to write it thinking, okay, I'm gonna have to play and sing this together. And then it still came out kind of complicated to where I was like, crap, I hope I don't have to play and sing that. But now with Tony Band, I don't. So I'm like, let's play all these live.
Yeah.
Whatever
absolutely.
we can do. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, Chris, man, I really appreciate you, man. Not only were you so generous with your time. I mean, for people that don't know, we were about 30 minutes into a previous interview that we had to scrap because the powers that be just didn't want it to happen, I guess. I don't know. We were struck down at our finest hour.
Dude, we salvaged it.
We salvaged it. Yeah. And that's certainly like a credit to you being able to jump back on here with me, man. So I appreciate it, man. It's made me love your band even more, man. You really are great guys, man. And this is, until someone proves me wrong, man, this is the 2025 metal album of the year, in my opinion, man. It's amazing.
We've got what, 5 more months for somebody to come and sweep our legs out.
Yeah, top that. Yeah, that's right.
But
throwing down the gauntlet though, hard here though, man.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, and so I really wish you a lot of luck with it. And Brian Slagle, and if he hears this, man, don't make OJ do TikTok. He doesn't like it. Come on.
Yeah, please, I'll do anything else, boss, but just don't make me TikTok.
There's no way. I mean, come on. There's just no way to get across what Byzantine does in a 30-second video.
No, and I ain't dancing.
He's not dancing. No.
Dancing.
Thank God we're not resorting to that just yet. The guy's already got a play, write songs, going in Baptism by Fire and engineer his own album. I mean, for God's sakes.
Spitting people's toilets. Like, I've got enough on my plate.
I mean, what's next? We're just gonna have just you in a room with the cymbals on your knees and doing the whole one-man band thing.
Oh man, that's funny.
But I appreciate you doing this, man. I'm glad we're in touch now, man. And as soon as you get news on that tour, I'd love to have you back on. We'll chop it up again, man.
Yeah, maybe I get to see you live and we get to crack open some beers.
Come to upstate New York. Yeah, please do. Yeah,
awesome.
Absolutely. I would love to see you guys here, man. I'll put you up in the guest bedroom if need be.
Free lodging.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Chris. Thank you. This really meant a lot to me, man, because you really did go the extra mile, man. So I appreciate you, man. Thank you.
You're welcome, Rexx.
Really appreciate it. Good talking to you, man. And we'll do this again, my friend.
Awesome.
Later, man. And there he goes, folks. Chris Ojeda. We got one in the books. We had one cooking in the books, but the powers that be, as I said, I'm in upstate New York. We've been having some serious storms here that have affected the power and or the internet connection. So we had one struck down, but Chris, credit to him, was willing to say, hey, I will jump back on when you get shit back up and rolling again, and we will start from ground zero and do it again. And true to his word, man, he did just that, man. So you guys didn't get a behind-the-scenes look at that. You're only getting to see this finished product, man. But truly one of the great guys in the rock and metal world, Chris Ojeda, Byzantine. If you haven't checked out the new album, at the time of this recording, it is June 24th. The album came out 11 days ago on June 13th. It is called Harbingers. In my mind right now, no one has done anything in the metal world that has been better than this album up to this point. And again, as Chris even said, we are only halfway through the year, but the gauntlet has been thrown down. Harbingers is fucking bringing it. We haven't heard from the boys since 2017's the Cicada Tree. But they are back and back with a vengeance. This album is a certified fucking banger. Do yourself a favor if you're into extreme metal or progressive thrash, which that's tongue in cheek. I know metal is full of labels or whatever, but it is very progressive in terms of the guys really have chops. These are guys that are extremely proficient, extremely prolific, and obviously doing what they do best, which is giving us extremely amazing melodic metal. So if that's your thing, man, and it should be, Harbingers is your album. Go check it out, please. And they are just amazing guys. And certainly you can see why the fans have stayed invested in this band for so long. At their core, that's really what it's about. Loving the fans, giving back, and just, being who you are. That's pretty much, what you see is what you get. As he said, these are just ordinary guys with ordinary day jobs, just cranking out fucking great metal and hoping that it's appreciated. And believe me, as a fan of the band, this album truly appreciated because it is absolutely fucking amazing. So I've gushed on, I fawned over the guys long enough. Let's cut this one off, man, before somebody cuts my power off again. Big thank you to Chris Ojeda of Byzantine. And again, go check out Harbingers, the new album. It is absolutely amazing, and I truly appreciate the effort and the generosity that Chris showed PodScum today in coming on here after our first interview was scrapped and coming back on here and doing it again, man. So the utmost thanks and gratitude to him. And let me remind you guys to follow us on Facebook, PodScum, and Off the Couch Boxing. Let me flip that around. Off the Couch Boxing and PodScum. If you're into the pugilism, there's a podcast for that on the channel. If you're into the music, arts, and entertainment, PodScum, we got you covered. The most amazing and real conversations anywhere on planet Earth on both podcasts. And equally, when you go to the YouTube channel, you will see two separate playlists for Off the Couch Boxing and PodScum. I would recommend both, but of course, I'm a little biased. Both kick-ass podcasts, though, and continue to stay tapped in. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay tapped in on the channel. And remember, guys, do heed these words from your boy Rexx Ruger, aka Diamond David Lee Roth, aka the King of Sleaze. Remember to stay one way in your lives, and that is take it easy and keep it sleazy.